Russia today launched one of its heaviest missile barrages yet across Ukraine, killing at least 36 people and wounding more than 100. Even a children's hospital that performs 7,000 surgeries on sick kids every year was hit hard. That's according to local officials. And I've been speaking to the former Supreme Allied Commander for Europe, Wesley Clark, about what's at stake for Ukraine and for NATO in its face-off with the Russian President, Vladimir Putin. General Clark, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, because it really does seem like the Russians are stepping it up on Ukraine. There's been a massive barrage of missiles, a massive hit on a children's hospital, and dozens dead and wounded. What do you think Putin is thinking now?
I think Putin thinks he's going to be able to consolidate the momentum that he has by punishing the Ukrainian people. This is this horrible Russian attitude that we're going to kill you and murder you until you love us and join us. It's an imperialist attitude going back 100, 200 years. But in this case, it's delivered with modern ordnance in a brutal way. We never thought we'd see something like this in Europe, Christian. And yet here it is, more than 2 years into the fight. And the West hasn't mustered sufficient strength to drive Putin back.
Well, we'll talk about that in a moment and how they should. But first, I want to ask you about the timing, because the head of Lithuania has tweeted, Putin sends his greetings to the NATO summit by bombing a children's hospital in Ukraine, as if any clarification was needed as to why Ukraine must have all possible support now and real guarantees for security in the future. So, you know, he's from one of those Baltic states, which I guess gets it better than all the countries that are farther away. So, to his question, what should NATO be doing now?
Well, first of all, NATO needs to put a lot more air defense in there. There are many countries in NATO, and I don't want to have to name them all, that have Patriot air defense systems that are sitting on them, that are not doing anything for the country. NATO's line of defense runs through Ukraine. NATO's line of deterrence runs through Ukraine. And so all the air defense that these countries have that are not on the front line should be pushed forward to Ukraine. That's the first thing. Second thing is you have to create ambiguity. You have to, in Putin's mind, as to what comes next. You can't simply say, here's what we won't do this, we won't do that. You've got to start talking like French President Macron has talked about creating ambiguity. Send those French aircraft in, put some French troops on the ground in Odessa, put engineers in there to help rebuild the energy infrastructure. Get engaged, show Putin we mean it.
And what about future security guarantees? We're talking on the eve of the NATO summit, 75 years of NATO. What can Ukraine expect? It won't have a line to joining NATO, but what about security guarantees going forward?
Well, I think the pledge for equipment is good, and that's what's going to come out of this. But there's not going to be any security guarantee, Christian, unless you're willing to put U.S. and NATO troops into Ukraine. That's the only way a security guarantee would work. And that, of course, would cross the self-imposed standards that NATO has put up for itself of not wanting to really be engaged. Want Ukraine to win, don't really want to get engaged and face off with Russia. Hope we can discourage Putin indirectly. Okay, we've had 2.5 years of that. How well has it worked? Not so well. And you're dealing with a country in Russia that's 24/7 mobilized, its industrial base. It's building a group of adversarial nations against the West. It's not good. Time is working on for Russia right now rather than for the West. And from the beginning of this, we've misunderstood the Russian strategy and the Russian ability to endure the sanctions and the pinpricks of weapons that come in. We've always been too late, too little with what we've provided. And in this conflict, the F-16s have already been discounted by the Russians. They figured out what to do to work against them, or at least they think they have, just like they did with HIMARS. And they'll figure out the ATACMS very quickly also. So in war, you have to get the initiative. you have to build your momentum and you have to sustain it. In this case, we're not fighting this as a war. We're fighting this as a diplomatic holding action, hoping that somehow Mr. Putin will say after a couple of years, gee, I've made a mistake. I really want out of this.
Okay.
And there's no indication that that's going to happen.
General Clark, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.